as I said, we're here to simplify email automation. There isn't a pitch at any sort of stretch in this at all. I'm here for you to provide value, but if there is something that resonates with you that I can help you with in your business, certainly check out the website or shoot me an email. But we're here today to help you, look, get over that frustration, right? That feeling of overwhelm when you go inside of your email platform. It could be that it is you use Drip or ConvertKit or Infusionsoft or MailChimp, and it's just like, all right, why do I need to email somebody, right? Because you don't really know what's going on in there. And while I focus in on ConvertKit and Drip specifically for a lot of my clients, those two platforms, they send out a lot of new features, and almost these new features create this sense of fear of missing out if you don't actually go ahead and use it. And so, I get what that feels like. The idea that when you're trying to make smart business decisions, where do I focus my marketing efforts? How do people become customers? Then when you actually go into your email and you try to find out these data points, you can't find anything. You don't know where anybody came from. You don't know what converted somebody. And it's just this muddy water of tags, data, custom fields, and so on and so forth. So you're in the right place here. Bottom line, this is meant to serve as some inspiration moving forward, right? To see how to start to plan ahead and plan in 2021 profitability, and not spending so much time, 20, 30 minutes, just trying to figure out what tags I need to pull together to send out a broadcast. So what we're going to cover today is three things. One, techless automation. Two, a naming convention that you can move from today, that you can use today moving forward. And then three, this notion of stacked funnels. So for those of you that don't know who I am Jason. I am a husband, a proud dad of two young boys under the age of 4. One turns 4 on December 27th. So chaos in the midst of this pandemic is a reality in my life, right? So I'm a proud New Yorker. I'm a podcaster. I grew up my career as a developer and an automation expert. But ultimately, I love helping creators and online businesses design a business that works for them and gives them the freedom and flexibility to do what they want to do in their own lives without getting caught in the weeds and getting caught in all of the stuff that everybody says that you should be doing. But the reality is that results matter, right? And for over a decade, I've been helping my clients achieve their goals. And that's why I love what I love, right? One of the proudest moments that I had was helping Ian and Jeffrey. Jeffrey is a Grammy award-winning guitarist, build their engine. They have a ton of Splinter digital products. They help guitarists learn guitar, become better performers, whether it is up on stage or in the studio, all the way down to the person that just wants to play better guitar at church, right? And I just love their mission, and their whole business model was based on new revenue coming in off of Facebook ads. But when working with them, we were able to increase their conversions from Facebook ads from 4 to 15% just in 1 month, right? So if they didn't buy off of that ad, but they came onto their list, we built out a nurture sequence that kind of gave them a little bit more leniency or length on that sales cycle. As well as Adrienne, she has a membership site, and she runs a community of essentially Facebook ad service providers. And she has a community that opens and closes. It's that model where the cart opens and closes. And she creates this wait list. And I helped her and her company build out a wait list, essentially hype program, to convert 20% of the wait list into actual paying members. But ultimately, technology should be working for you. It's not the other way around. And if you got this idea, this feeling, this challenge or struggle that every time you open up your email platform that, oh, you know what, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I'm just going to send out a broadcast to the entire list, then your technology is not working for you. So the first things that we want to do is put our customers on the right path, right? You have customers, you know what works, you know how they became customers, where you got them from, what works, what doesn't work, what resonates with them. You know the things that they need to know before they purchase from you. So step away from the tech initially and just whiteboard it all out. And it could be as simple as just a couple of circles in a flow chart that connect one another from a lead magnet to a sales pitch to being a customer, right? And that's simplicity. And that's really what email automation should be. It should be simple. You also know, like I said, what they need to know before they get to the next step. And now I'm famous for saying, well, any email is the closed loop from the last one and the open loop to the next one. Really, what's next, right? And that's how it should be in email automation. Figure out what it is that they need to know to proceed to the next step. So if they came in from the lead magnet, how do you get them from a lead magnet to a phone call or a low ticket offer? Then from the phone call and the low ticket offer, what do they need to know to get to the high ticket offer? And then maybe the programs and things of that nature. I'd love to know from those of you that are live, if you go ahead and put it in the chat, do you know how long it takes from somebody to come to you to the time they first purchase? If not, you're not alone, right? Most people don't have they have an idea, but they don't know the exact. And the reason why I ask that is because as you start to build out this customer path, we got something in the chat. No idea, Barbara says. All right, that's cool. I like the chat now. I can see, right? So I can see. Speaking of the chat, if there's any questions that come up, certainly put that in there. But the reason why I asked that question is because this way it allows you to know what phases need to be at a certain given time, right? It allows you to map out the length of your lead magnet follow-up, how long the sales cycle needs to be, like that know, like, and trust nurturing factor, and then how long the pitch needs to be. Because ultimately, when somebody comes into your business as a buyer, there are people that are just going to buy. They just want to know. They don't want the fluff. They don't want anything. They just want to, they know that they want to buy. And if you don't allow them to buy right away, they're just going to leave and find something else. Then there are those that take the natural course of your sales cycle. And then the vast majority of people fall into this 30 to 90 day window where you need to further nurture them. And this is something that I encourage you to think about is what's the fast track, what's that middle ground, and then what's the long game? Because ultimately, the stats say that over 60% of the people that come into your world are not ready to buy within 30 days. However, if we could shorten that time frame, that's what we want, because we want to get as many purchases as early on as possible. So step away from the tech. Grab a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, whatever it is, let your creativity flow a little bit, but just map out like, hey, if I get somebody into the lead magnet, what is the first thing that I want them to do? What's that quick win from the lead magnet that then gets them to that next step? Is it booking a call? Is it a low ticket offer? Is it something that I want them to join, right? Whatever it is, map out what that looks like and what the questions are. Then from that low ticket offer to the high ticket offer. And just lay that out on a whiteboard, a piece of paper, anything that works. Then once you have that, then go into your tech and actually put that in place. Which leads me to the simple sophistication, right? See, I love simplicity. I'm a developer. by trade, and there are elegant languages and not elegant languages. And yes, diving into the weeds a little bit, but Ruby on Rails is one of the most elegant languages that has ever been written. And it's easily read by anybody, any human can read a line of Ruby code and know what's happening. They may not know what's going on behind the scenes, the ones and the zeros and stuff like that, but they know what that line of code says. And Leonardo da Vinci has this saying of simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. When you boil things down to their simplest elements, there's so much power in that, right? And that's where a lot of people with email automation get hung up a lot of times, is that, well, there's so many things. I got automations, I got rules, I got flows, I got sequences, I got campaigns, I got broadcasts, I've got custom fields, I got tags, I got all of these things, right? But they all boil down to just data points and pushing people along the path that you want them to go to. With a naming convention, you can go ahead and simplify all of those things, right? So what you're seeing on the screen there is that was actually my tag list about 7 years ago inside of Drip. Now, you can see that maybe some of them sort of make some sense there, but there are other ones like blog, landing page, canceled. What do those mean? I have no idea, right? And the reason why is because a lot of that stuff is created on the fly with, just I needed to get something shipped, or I needed to put something out there, and I just really wanted to send an email out to somebody, and oh, this person's not a client anymore, so I'm going to tag them with this, whatever, right? When you do that on the fly stuff, you end up with something like this. You end up with something that's called technical debt. And like a client of mine recently, he would spend anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes adding 19 tags to a broadcast just to figure out, like, I know these are the kind of people that I want to send it to. I just got to figure out which tags that applies to. And that's insane, right? It shouldn't be like that. So with a naming convention, you can alleviate all of that stress. And the naming convention that I'm going to share with you today, don't worry about what happened in the past, but just take it. If there's one thing that I would love for you to walk away with, is this naming convention. Just take it from today moving forward. So anything you create, if it's a tag, if it's a custom field, if it's an automation, if it's a form, this applies to all of the things inside of your email platform, that then you know what the story is of that specific subscriber, because ultimately that's what we're looking at. So the naming convention is action-context-meta. I'm going to explain what each of these it means in a minute here, but really you could just use this framework and apply it to tags, apply it to forms, and then this way in your platform, you know what that form is all about. You know what that tag is. You know what that custom field is. And that's why this framework works best. And I'm going to give you a clear-cut example of a live subscriber record in a moment. But first, action is always a verb. It's submitted, it's clicked, it's purchased, and so on and so forth. It's the action that was taken that actually, that the subscriber took to get that thing applied to them, okay? Now, context is always the noun, right? This is like the form name. This could be a product name. This could be a campaign. This could even be a holiday, right? So think of things like purchased-membership, right? Or submitted-checklist, meaning that they submitted a form to download the checklist, which is your lead magnet, right? Could even be purchased Christmas bundle, right? So this way, now you know exactly what that is, what that tag means. And then the final piece, meta, is usually an optional thing, but it gives some sort of frame of reference or more information. So things like a time that this was run, a campaign, or maybe a beta program, something like that. So you have this all-encompassing tag that kind of, or form or automation that then goes ahead and says purchased hyphen membership hyphen beta. So you know that this person is a part of your membership and they were the first one in the door. Clear example of this is this. This is inside of my ConvertKit account and I snapped it yesterday. And I know that just by looking at this tag cloud, who this person is on the other side of my business. Right? So I help freelancers and developers and designers build recurring revenue. So when I look at this tag cloud, I can look at it and see that this person submitted 3 different lead magnets. It came in from 3 different ways, right? But based on the conversion tag, the one-time offer, that's what OTO means, of SalesKit, I know that within 24 hours of submitting either one of those 3 lead magnets, they bought something from me, right? And in ConvertKit, you can't see in this still here, but in ConvertKit, if I hovered over each of those tags, it would give me a timestamp. So I could actually, if I was looking up some data, I can actually go ahead and hover over submitted content upgrade, submitted first, which that's the name of the page, first, and then submitted right CTA, which is the little toaster widget in the bottom of my website. I could see based on the timing of the conversion OTO sales kit, how fast that person bought from me, right? I can also see that he went through an email course of mine. He stopped in the middle, which is what force means, right? So I pushed him through, but he took the first 2 lessons and I guess the rest of it was irrelevant for him or whatever, right? But you could see that I could just look at this tag cloud here and understand the path, the journey that this subscriber was on for me. And I know that he was a part of a segment that I pitched a product to, a workshop, a training to, called Follow-Up Feast. Didn't go out to my whole list, but I could see that, based off of started Follow-Up Feast beta, right? But I also know that he didn't buy it because send, why didn't you buy Follow-Up Feast, right? So I know that he didn't buy it based on that tag getting applied. So that also leads me into something that I call stacked funnels, right? With that naming convention in place there, you could start to see how I can piece together the journey of that person, right? I know that they came from the lead magnet. I know that they bought that sales kit. I also know that they're engaged at some level in an email course that I have, a free email course that I have, which is probably why I pitched that follow-up program, that follow-up workshop, right? And he didn't take on it, and that's fine, right? Stacked funnel is essentially modular components of the business, right? So that's why that whiteboard is so important, because you know the phases at which the business needs that person to go through, right? And the modular component of that are driver tags, right? So what you see here is, and I redacted the products and the lead magnets and things like that, but this is actually the critical path of a specific business, right? There's the top of funnel, which is TOF, so the lead magnet, right? Then there's the daily driver, which is basically the sales nurturing portion of this. But then there's a flat out pitch. There's a couple of pitches in a different way, right? But these 6 visual automations inside of ConvertKit, specifically for this one, they're stacked on top of each other rather than one massive or 2 massive visual automations, right? Which I see a ton of. The lead magnet in and of itself has 4 nodes to it, really just tagging start, right? That they're going in, sending out the sequence, and then marking that they ended, right? So really just 3 aside from the trigger point, right? So it's simplicity. Now, if that lead magnet's not working, it's easy enough to swap in another one and everything still stays the same, right? And it's easy to identify the conversion points of that. So if I go back to this example here, I know the conversion is here from the one-time offer because that's part of the business. Did they convert on that one-time offer? I can see that he completed the one-time offer, and I can see that they completed the start of the one-time offer, right? That start tag, the send tag, these are all driver tags that each of the modules in the funnel use to drive that ship, right? So as you grow, as you start to grow your business and scale up in a way, you could add things in the middle of these, right? So case in point, the two on the bottom here, the interest, right? What I did with this client was they send daily emails, right? And in the midst of that daily email, and this is just an idea, right? Again, this is just how this worked. The first four, actually the first three, overture, where is it? The top of funnel, the pitch, overture, and daily driver. Those three we started out with, and we added the other ones in later, right? And that's what the flexibility of this allows you to do because it's simple, right? And the idea for the interest is basically if somebody clicks on a link in an email that goes to a sales page, we want to start counting them. And then I think in this case, it's 45 days because that's what we started measuring as the time, the average time that somebody would buy for the first time. If within that first 45 days, if somebody showed interest 3 times on a specific product on a sales page by clicking on it and they didn't buy, then we moved them into that pitch, that TMM campaign. So you could see how you could start to inject, as you scale up, you could start to inject modules into your funnel, so to speak, to grow the business and scale up. So as we talked here for about maybe close to a half an hour, we talked about the techless automation, right? Let's put out what that path looks like on a whiteboard, on a piece of paper, just what the flow of your critical path is for your customer. Then we identified that naming convention that you can use. And, you know, I kind of glossed over it here, but you could see that naming convention carries over into the visual automations as well. Pitch, noun, and then overture, right? So pitch is the verb, the product is the noun, and overture is the type of campaign. It's just that meta information. So you can see how that framework works throughout your entire platform. And then we talked about that stacked funnel, these simple, flexible pieces of your automation so that then you know where those key conversion points are so that you can then go ahead and find out what it is that you need to know to make better business decisions. So I'm going to take a sip of water, and if there's any questions, certainly ask away. But if you want to check out my website, it's NurtureKit.co, and that is not a typo. You can certainly go ahead and ask. Go check that out, or just shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to help in any sort of way. So I'm going to stop my screen here. I'm going to Jennifer, yes, it takes, if not more, to be honest. Jennifer says that she heard that it takes 7 to 10 interactions, not sure of an actual time frame. Oh, I guess that's from your, your sales cycle. And yeah, that's, I mean, if not more, right? Because even if it's just email 7 times, they might see you on social 3-4 times. They might, see your website a bunch of times. So there is a lot of interaction that goes on that takes place and helps build that know, like, and trust factor. Rochelle says that the average is 3 months. But I've had one that took 9 years. Yeah, I mean, look, if that person has stayed with you for 9 years, and it happens, right? Like, especially if we don't prune our lists. That's one of those things that a lot of people ask me about is pruning lists. How long do I keep somebody on for? Um, Look, there's two sides of that, but as Rochelle says here, like, look, 9 years somebody wound up buying. And yes, I've had similar experience, not as long, but I've had experiences where I've talked to a lead, um, and they weren't ready to buy. 3 years later, they pop back on the radar and they say, hey, after our talk, I got all my ducks in a row. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. And it happens. And sometimes that's what that is. That's why that 60% number, where, you know, somebody comes and encounters you for the first time, 60% of those people are not ready to buy within that first month. But the culture of the online business world is like now, now, now. And it's, hey, let's get the Facebook ad up and let's get people in the door and registered to this thing and this live training, this webinar, and so on and so forth. We need to sell to them. And then once we do that, okay, next month, let's do the same thing. And then people just go into some weekly broadcast of content that doesn't really help further nurture them, right? Um, Simpler is better. Yes, Jennifer, I'm a big fan of simple. We don't need any more complicated things in our lives, for sure. Um, Steven says, I'm literally doing this right now. My tags are a complete mess. Yes. Look, you know, I go into many, many accounts and email accounts over the years, and you know, sometimes I'm like, I can't, like, there's 700 tags, and I can maybe identify what 50 of them are doing. And yes, it's like the creation on the fly is one of the biggest things that add to that technical debt. So if you use that naming convention and just have that in your back pocket, that action hyphen context hyphen meta, and you use that, the creation on the fly is easier because then you're like, oh, okay, so action. What is the action? What's the verb of this tag? Okay. What's the noun of this tag, right? And so now you don't have, like, if you looked at my ConvertKit account, I probably have 700, 800 tags, but they all make sense, right? I might not need them anymore. And I do prune from time to time when I have 5 or 10 minutes, but, you know, it still tells me the story. And then I remember, oh yeah, I remember doing that 5 years ago, but I know exactly what that tag did. So Stephen asks, where is the best place to start? I have a big messy email list with lots of tags and miscategorized members. Yeah, Stephen, I mean, and if anybody wants to hop on, unmute yourself, that's fine. Otherwise, in the chat's cool too. But how you start is this, right? And it's funny because I just had a book a day client where that's just a service that I run where for that single day, I go in there and I run through the gamut of tasks that they want done and set them up. But that's one of the things they asked me was, how do I go about, you know, reducing these tags or aggregating them or what? How do I clean this mess up? And I would say, don't like devote like a morning to do this. Just do it over time. Figure out what the priority is. And when you go in the next time into your account, whether it's ConvertKit, Drip, MailChimp, whatever, and you go ahead and you start to work inside of there, just take 5 minutes and go through and say, like, do I need this? Like, if it's something that you're looking at, a tag, custom field, a form, a campaign, and you take a look at it and you say, if in 5 seconds you can't figure out what that is doing or why you even need it anymore, just delete it because you don't need it, right? That's the first thing. So be ruthless on that. I'm totally ruthless on that. You will know if you accidentally delete something that's important, right? But if you're apprehensive of that if it's like an email campaign, has emails in there, content and all that, I would suggest taking a screenshot of the report just so you have the arc, like the history of whatever the metrics are of that report, and then cut and paste the emails into a Google Drive or something like that, or a Word doc, or even just a plain text document that sits on your desktop that you know you can delete if nothing happens, right? But just delete it, right? And don't worry about it anymore. And it clears up your mind with that. And then once you delete it, you'll start to see like, oh, okay, the world didn't collapse on me, right? Um, as well as miscategorized members. Now, this is a big thing, especially like, and it sounds like you're running a membership, and Stephen, if I recall correctly, as you scale, right, and you might shift the way that you're running your business from offline to online and things of that nature, especially with whatever, you know, with whatever 2020 has brought to us. When you start working on the categorization, the segmentation of your subscriber base, this is something you do want to set some time for, right? You want to set like a half an hour or an hour and just say, okay, what's the segments in the business? And this is, again, taking it a step away from the automation. So you're not looking at things, right? Okay, I got 3 tiers. And each tier is either a member, an annual member or a monthly member, right? So people could pay all the way up front or they pay on the month, right? So now those tiers in most modern ESPs, ConvertKit, Drip, Keep, ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft and Keep is the same. You know, most of those modern email platforms have tagging as well as custom fields. Okay. With things that are one of many, like a membership, right? They can't be a part of all 3 tiers. They're a part of one of those tiers, right? Think of it like your favorite color or your favorite food, right? It's one of many, right? My favorite color is red, right? So I'm not going to have multiple favorite colors, right? It's one of many. That gets stored in a custom field. A tag, on the other hand, are binary. It happened or it didn't, right? So they purchased the membership, right? If that tag exists on that subscriber, then that's it, right? So when you start to think about the data points and how you're going to segment things, I lean more towards the custom fields area, because especially in memberships, you can have a custom field that says membership level. And then you can have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 as values in there, as well as blank, right? Then you can have membership renewal, month or annual, right? So now you know that they're filled in that way. And then you could base your segments off of those sort of things, right? All the people in membership level 2 or silver or whatever the term is that it is, get this email, right? Or they get these features applied, right? And then thirdly, and this is specific to the case of memberships, is you probably want like a membership status, right, field where it's active or in renewal or canceled, right? Because there's those states of a membership. So outline what those look like. Take those questions, put them down on a piece of paper. In fact, yeah, I was going to show you a note thing, but there's too much client stuff on there. But I just lay out in my notebook what those tiers are and the values of what those custom fields are. And then I go back into the tech and say, okay, I need to find all my annual members that are on my premium tier, right? Find all of them, however you categorize them right now in the mess, and then create the custom fields that are coding for that. So I hope that makes some sense. If not, certainly, you know, if you want to unmute yourself, you could go ahead or drop it in the chat. That's fine as well. Okay. Yeah, the tag custom field thing is always a big argument on there. Um, I know Brennan Dunn. I've known him for a long, long time. He runs a SaaS called Right Message, but he's been doing email marketing probably just as long as I have, and he's always on the side of every segment should be defined as a custom field, and I agree with that because I think custom fields is where that data point needs to exist. Yet, I'm also a realist, and I understand that the non-engineers of the world aren't going to write code to try to figure out how to get that particular segment that they want to send that specific email to, right? So tags for me work too in segmentation, but I lean on the custom fields to tell me the specifics, right? So, case in point, that screenshot of that tag cloud that I showed with you, he's a freelancer, right? So yeah, I could put freelancer. That's one of the big segments that I send out of that account, right? And there's a couple of other ones, right? But freelancer could easily be in like a custom field because 99 times out of 100, the segments don't cross, but some do. Sometimes they do, right? So I do it that way because then I just say, okay, everybody with the tag freelancer is in that, and I don't have to worry about it, right? Like I don't have to always think about what the custom field is all about. And I do that for clients too, right? Like I know my clients aren't going to try to figure out what the name of the custom field is. Did he use an underscore or a hyphen in it? Do a capital, lowercase, like all of this stuff, right? Sometimes tags just make some sense in that case, but where it comes down to the one-to-many relationships, especially on the like membership tiers and programs and timing of payments and things of that nature, that sits all in custom fields. Awesome. Glad, Stephen. Shell says, that is great advice. Been wrapped up all this week, and the visual map was game changing. Sweet. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there are some platforms, and they will remain nameless right now, but there are some platforms for me, like, I'm like, I do not want to go in there. Like they move stuff around or it doesn't make sense in my head. I'm like, I just don't know what I need to know. And I'll wind up just taking out a Post-it note. And I'll just be like, all right, what do I need to send? Who do I need to get it to? And how do I get it to them? And I'll just jot it down and then go in, right? Because sometimes that's what I need. And I'm an engineer. I come from code. I come from all this stuff. But yet some platforms designed not well, right? Like it's confusing. You don't know where to find something. So it's certainly, I certainly echo that. So just gonna wrap up here. If there's any final questions, we'll just let 2 minutes slide by. I appreciate your guys' time. Certainly, I'm interested to hear from all of you if you don't mind replying, especially even if you're catching the replay as well, just shooting me an email. What was your one takeaway? Is this helpful for you? And would you like more of these into the future? Because look, I have run them inconsistently over the years, but this is the first one that I thought, hey, look, I want to provide you guys with some value on a regular basis in a way that's valuable to you. Like, I could put up blog posts and things of that nature, but the questions and answers just from me, like I know as a business owner, I would love to go to a training session and get my answer question, right? Or my question answered, right? And so if I could do that then that's valuable to me, right? And so I would love to hear your one takeaway from this. If you don't mind shooting me an email in the next day or so, that would be super helpful. And if it is, for you, add that in as well. I mean, obviously, I thank you for taking some time today and coming on live, and you taking the time on the replay to watch this as well. And your time, I want to respect that and the attention that you have there. I don't take that lightly. So if there's anything that I can do to help you in the future in any way, especially in this case, or scaling your business, growing, please certainly let me know. And I'm just going to take one final scroll on the chat, see if there's any final questions, and there doesn't appear to be. Awesome. Yes. No problem, Jennifer. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And yeah, if you want to reach out to me, certainly do so. If there's anything that I can do for you in the future, certainly let me know, and I'll gift you guys back 15 minutes of your day. And again, thank you. And when you treat your list like humans that they are, amazing results are going to happen.